Amber Alert Podcast.
Welcome, Amber Alert Podcast, episode 91. Now listen very carefully. I am your host, Amber Starkey, and it's a great day to be alive, but listen to me carefully. This is part one. This is part one of episode 91. I'm doing something differently in this year. Well, I'm trying it out. And if it doesn't seem to go well, then I'll go back to one very long episode and it won't have parts. But because there are 3 parts to this podcast, in order to shorten the video, because it's 3 or 4 hours, in order to shorten it, I felt the right thing to do was to break it into 3 parts. So how this is going to work, because 1, I hate editing video, and 2, I hate wasting time. And so in order to save myself the most time and the most amount of work, here's how it's going to work. I'm going to go live for part 1. We're going to finish part 1, and then we're going to have a little intermission of maybe 5 to 10 minutes, maybe less, depending on how quickly I can move. Then I will immediately turn around and go live for part 2. Then I'll end that and have a slight intermission again, and then immediately go live for part 3. That way, the reason I'm doing it that way is because the ones that I'm live on, at least X and Rumble, I stopped going live on YouTube because they've limited my visibility because of the strikes on my accounts. There's really no point. I'll still upload these to YouTube. I'll upload them to Substack, and I'll upload audio only to Spotify, but those will just be in 3 parts. So there won't be one long video anymore. This is how I think I should do things. Now, if it does not seem to be the right thing, then I'll go back to doing one long episode, which I would prefer to do, by the way. This is a little bit of a headache for me, but I just felt like I should do it. So that's how it's going to work. So if you're with me and we get to the end of part 1, which is going to be news and like the political part, then I'm going to give you a heads up. Hey, we're ending this live stream. Okay. But stay tuned, because I'm going to be back in a few minutes, but it's going to be a new live stream. It's not going to be a continuation of the first video. They will be separate ones. So you'll have to exit out of it as well, and then jump on the new one that I make. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into, let me move over here a little. Let's get into the news portion. There is a lot to talk about there. I'm super excited. Now, I'm not 100% myself today, so if I misspeak, I apologize. I will do my best. Just don't be a hater, because I have stuff going on. And my energy level is not there as it normally is, but I am excited about this episode because of good things, in my opinion, that are going on in the news. And then I can't wait to get to part 3 when we talk about the Bible, because there's something I learned recently that changed things for me. I mean, it's not true to say it changed things. It solidified things for me. And I think it should actually for everybody on this particular topic. If you still don't buy it even after you know what I'm going to show you, then I don't know what you're standing on, I guess. I'm going to have to turn that thing off. Let me pop this up on the screen and I'll come read it in a second. I'm also freezing, by the way. And I'm never cold, but I'm freezing. I have on like Winnie the Pooh pants that are furry inside and out. I got a blanket. I have a heater next to me. But let's do it. All right. So, the original post here, this is what the Chinese foreign minister said, who I've never heard of. He said, Trump does not represent the American people, but only Zionist interests. So this is coming from a communist. And so the rest of it here says, golly, isn't it odd how the representatives of the Chinese Communist Party sound an awful lot like the woke right? Yeah, they do, because there's now a segment of right-wing politics that's full-blown Nazi, essentially. I'm not kidding you. I understand there are bots on X and on Instagram, and they're around. But I can't tell you the number of posts that I've read since, I don't know at what point I started noticing this. Sometime last year is when I started noticing it. I can't tell you how many comments I've seen where people are like literally saying things like, wow, Hitler must have known something all along. Hitler was right. Yeah. You actually have people defending Nazi Germany and Hitler, one of the most evil people to ever live, an antichrist figure, in my opinion. You have people defending what he did because they hate Jews that much. So for those of you who are on the fence, should we like support Israel and the Jewish people, or should we go to the other? I guess you can have no opinion if you want, but eventually you're probably going to have to like make a choice. If you want to go the other direction, you should just take a look around at who's in bed on that side. Straight up Nazis, communists, Islamic terrorists and jihadists, the woke, very woke far left, and now these weirdos that are now part of the right who are basically talking pieces for Islam. So if that's who you want to align yourself with, knock yourself out. But that's a very stupid side to take. Again, you can acknowledge, I know Israel has a deep state, okay? I actually think that Mossad and our CIA are two heads on the same snake. I think they're evil twins. I think they work together on just about everything. So I can recognize that Israel has the same problem that we have here in the United States, while still maintaining support for the Israeli people and the nation. And also, to say nothing of the fact, God cares very much about them, and he's coming back to destroy their enemies before it's all said and done. So it's not really a hard choice for me. Put up with some corruption. I already do that as an American citizen. I haven't been like, you know what? Our CIA and our deep state is so out of control that we might as well just burn the whole country and everybody just die. Whoops, I never started Instagram. Sorry. I don't feel that way. I don't feel that I haven't given up on America, and I won't. And I haven't given up on Israel, and I won't, especially them, because they're the only ones who have a biblical promise from God himself that he's going to take care of them and destroy their enemies. So not really a hard choice if you have, well, for one, if you're a Bible believing person, and two, if you just have an ounce of common sense, which is what the left doesn't and the woke right doesn't and communists don't have. So if that's who you want to be in bed with, knock yourself out. Next. Never before seen. That's probably a little rich. I think it's probably been seen before. Charlie Kirk was all over the internet. However, this is a Charlie Kirk clip. Anyone who is even a smidgen anti-Israel or anti-Semitic, we denounce it and we expel it from the conservative movement. I don't know when this is from. I think I have the video. Charlie, where are you? Here we go. I'll play it.
A smidgen anti-Israel or anti-Semitic has no place in the American conservative movement. Nowhere. And I denounce them, and so do all of our leaders, every elected representative. Anywhere that evil pops itself up, we denounce it and we expel it. The left embraces it. The big difference. They elect anti-Semites to Congress. They put them on foreign relations committees. If anyone dares say anything anti-Semitic, I want nothing to do with them. Nothing. It's what you do when you encounter evil that really judges the moral character of a movement and the moral health of a country. And so whenever I encounter it or whenever people encounter it, we take a stand against it. I think it's a little bit overblown. I wouldn't even call those people conservatives. I really wouldn't. Anyone who is... All
right. So there you have it for everybody who's like, you know what? I think Charlie didn't like the Jews either, and that's who killed him. Okay. Again, I'm sure Charlie knew about the deep state. I'm sure he knew about the corruption. You can point those things out while still maintaining support, which he did. You need to stop listening to Candace Owens if you're listening to her. By the way, her cult following is thinning, and she's, in fact, one of her biggest, simps or whatever you want to call him, he left the cult, and he literally put, now I don't know if he's being paid. Maybe he was paid in the first place and then someone paid him to stop supporting. I don't know. But he did make a post, and he said that he's like, man, now that I've gotten away from that and out of that, I actually feel like I've woken up from being under a spell. Well, if you mean that, I understand why you would say that, because that's how people act who listen to her. They she's not produced anything. It's all just, I'm just asking questions. She's doing something psychologically, maybe even occultish. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. And it's like literally messing with people's heads. It's kind of like, I think it's whatever satanic, the satanic rituals that Taylor Swift is doing on the stage, those I think are affecting her cult following as well, because people don't act normal when they get it. They become a hardcore Swiftie. They just, it's not, nothing about it's normal. I think there's literally, well, we talked about the hive mind in the last episode. I think there's a hive mind aspect to it, and there's something satanic about it, because it just doesn't on paper make sense in any way. Anyway, let's go to the next thing. All right. So obviously everybody knows about this by now. It's been like a week. This is Nicolas Maduro, Venezuelan's illegitimate president, who was captured in the middle of the night alongside his wife by the awesome U.S. troops or whoever did it, at obviously the Trump's command, being the commander in chief. And so now he's in custody here. I don't know if he's still in New York. I know that he was. He might still be there. I'll play the video. So what I love is this was posted by the official White House account. I don't know who's running that account, but it has been awesome since the Trump administration went in. The White House official account is great. If you don't follow it, you should. It's hilarious. It's absolutely savage and hilarious. But anyway, that clip, I'll play it, is him making threats like, come get me, you're a coward, da, 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 da. And I just think it's funny. And again, I'm sure everyone has seen this by now. But you're Trump is not the person to say those things to. He's just not. You could have said that to Biden. You could have said that to Obama. You definitely could have said it to Kamala Harris had she been in. Trump is not the person to say those things to, because Trump's like, hold my beer, America. I'll blow up whatever I need to blow up. I'll kill someone if I have to, but you're coming in. And I think there were some casualties, maybe no U.S. casualties. They may have just been casualties from people who are, Maduro's, perhaps his security. I don't know. But overall, it was a very successful operation to go get him. And and I know a lot of people are accusing Trump. They're saying, this is just about oil. We just want Venezuela's oil. Well, what do you think the Chinese and the Russians are doing messing around with Venezuela? You think they're not after the oil? Okay. So the oil is a factor, but at the same time, I don't know, I thought it was common knowledge that there was clearly voter fraud that was traced back to Venezuela. So obviously China also, but definitely Venezuela. And so those smart, whatever they're called, voter machines, the electric ones, there was like connection to Venezuela. And so they would, for whatever reason, it got traced back there. So with Maduro being in custody here in the United States, if he sings like a canary, as he should, then that'll implicate people here, because I saw a lot of people, I was just reading comments, people upset. They're like, oh, I like how we can go kidnap a president, which first of all, he was an illegitimate president. He took possession of that country. He's the head of a cartel. He wasn't elected. And he made life miserable for the Venezuelans, ran that country into the ground. So it's not like we just went and grabbed a leader. He's a cartel person and a criminal, and he already had they already had warrants or something. So anyway, if he talks, that will lead to arrests here for people involved in voter fraud, once he tells. So they need to protect him at all costs so he doesn't get Jeffrey Epstein. Someone needs to know where Hillary Clinton is at all times, is all I'm saying, while he's in custody. While they're going to be talking to him, just know where she's at. So anyway, he likely, I would say, yes, the oil is a thing. And they didn't have a way of distributing the oil, or I don't even know. There's some kind of process they have to go through I don't know that's not my area of expertise, but there are processes they have to go to be able to get the oil out and sell it. And I don't believe they had the infrastructure or the system in place to be able to do that in Venezuela under Maduro's leadership. So what Trump is doing is, I don't believe that he's just going to take over Venezuela and declare himself sovereign leader. No, he's going to get the oil going, which they couldn't do on their own. And that'll benefit Venezuela. That'll benefit America as well. And then they'll get somebody installed, which the lady who won the Nobel Peace Prize, who said she was going to give it to Trump or whatever, she's coming back. I think they might try to install her because they have an interim like communist or socialist who's just probably as bad as Maduro. So I'm sure they'll have to do something about that. But again, if you're upset there haven't been Epstein arrests, so am I. All right. So am I. I think everybody on that list should go to Guantanamo Bay. I do. But at the same time, what I'm not going to do is just focus on one thing that I wish was better under Trump's administration, and then not give him credit for everything else that he's doing. The thing in Venezuela, if you watch the videos, the Venezuelans are rejoicing. They were so happy. Oh my goodness, we're finally going to have freedom. That country got run into the ground under him, and they're all rejoicing. And the only people upset are the liberals here in America who've never been there, and they don't even know anything about the situation. They're just mad because Trump did something. God forbid, because whatever Trump does is like the worst thing ever to those people. So, but even lots of conservatives, I like how we can go grab that guy, but we can't arrest the corrupt people here. Just give him a little bit of time, okay? I understand a year has gone by. He's done a lot in a year. He has done a lot in a year. If you voted for deportations, you got them. If you voted for tariffs, you got them. They're still making moves on the whole tax system. Like, he's done a lot. He has. They've secured the border. He's delivering on his campaign promises. The only thing that's been held up is the Epstein thing. And I don't know if you can 100% blame that on Trump. I actually don't know. You remember when he told Pam Bondi to go ahead and release everything? Well, that had to go through a court system. And when Pam Bondi submitted to have that done, the judge shot it down. I think it was a Clinton appointed judge, if I remember correctly. So, it's not as simple as just Trump says release them and they get released. It's actually not that simple. Now, I do think there are people, conservatives even, who are probably in those documents who are preventing the release of them. And so I don't like that either. I do want that stuff out, and I want those people arrested and to get what they deserve. But I'm not going to allow that one thing that I wish was better overshadow everything else and say Trump's been a disappointment. And I, like Candace, I regret that I voted for him. I regret telling people to vote for him. Shut up, Candace. You're a hater anyway. Like, you're a psycho. And see how she started making those comments, and now she's gone full blown like insane. So let's just be fair. And I know I've been taking forever to get to this video. Again, I'm sure most people have seen it by now, but it is great. And it's coming from the White House account, and whoever's running that account is an absolute savage. I'm a big fan. So once I find it, here we go. Is this it? No, this is not it. I'm sorry. We will get to that. Give me a second. I will find the correct video, and then we'll get to that one. That one is funny. That guy does one of the best Trump imitations or impersonations, I should say, that I've ever seen. Where the heck is it, man? Okay, I found it. Look at this guy.
Por mí. Aquí lo esperan Miraflores. No se tarde en llegar, cobarde.
And now, if you don't know, now you know.
Again, the official White House account. One more time.
Venga por mí. Aquí lo espero en Miraflores. No se tarde en llegar, cobarde.
And now, if you don't know, now you know.
I love it. Trump is a straight up G. He's also hilarious. Best president like that I've had the privilege of living through their terms. Anyway, next. You don't see this very often. Seen from Soul Revival Ministry Conference in Gettysburg. So this is interesting to me that it's posted by Protestia, which oftentimes is an account or a publication, whatever they are, and they're very critical. They like to post when a pastor or a ministry falls. They like to be very critical. So I was sort of surprised that not only am I surprised they posted this because there's nothing critical about it, but I'm also surprised they posted this because this is from my pastor. This is from my church. This girl that you see right here with the guitar and singing is on staff at my church and sings. So, and I don't think this account likes my pastor because he's a full gospel person, and God forbid he teaches what the Bible says about money and stuff like that. So I was surprised to see that they gave props here. But here, look at what happened. Let me just so can I pause this? No. Okay, so what's so awesome is that there are like 8 people in that video that are all from my church, because we started having Amish people coming to the church. I think it started last year, may have been the first year of it. And what started it is someone had gone through like Lancaster, Gettysburg, wherever this is, Amish country, and they were an evangelist and they were praying for the sick, and people got healed and people got saved. And so there were Amish who were like, why don't we have this? You know, why are we missing out on this? There's something to this. Is awesome. So they ended up finding my pastor in my church, and they've been coming to my church, Amish people. So then look at that. They went to, again, that was a bunch of people from my church. Some of them are Amish people that go to my church. Others are just Amish people that probably live where this was. And look what happened. It's now spreading amongst the Amish. And of course, they're under threat. Amish will shun you if you leave. And they'll tell you that you're going to go to hell, which that's really not that different from a lot of denominations. A lot of them act like that. If you don't go to this kind of church, you're going to go to hell because we're the only ones doing it right, which is really kind of a cult, to be honest. And that's not true. It is not. There's not a single denomination that's in the Bible. The Bible does not say, hey, if you don't go to a Baptist church, you're going to hell. If you don't go to a Presbyterian church, you're going to hell. If you're not Amish, you're going to hell. It's not in there. It's not in there. So the things that split the body of Christ are stupid and shouldn't be a thing. But I love this because the influence has gone from a couple families to now their neck of the woods. And the revival that's been sweeping the country that we especially saw last year, and it continues to ramp up, is not missing the Amish community. And that's just because God, the Lord loves his church. He loves his church. all of it, regardless of denomination, regardless of location, regardless of race or culture or whatever. He loves his church. And so that's just an awesome thing to see. All right, next. This is just sort of I should rephrase what I want to say. I'll put this down for a second. So there's a guy, and I won't mention his name because I won't be like him. He has essentially devoted his life to attacking the Holy Spirit, to attacking prophecy, divine healing, the charismatic gifts. So, a large portion really of the New Testament. And yet he calls himself a minister and has a ministry. I don't really know how you do that, but that's what he does. And so he posted something I saw where he said, he takes every opportunity he can to just disparage anybody who is a full gospel Christian. He takes every opportunity, which is a satanic position, because in the Bible, there's one character in the Bible who's called the accuser, and that's the devil. So I don't know why as a Christian you would commit your life to being an accuser. That's a satanic thing to do, in my opinion, but whatever, I wouldn't want to be him. So anyway, takes every opportunity. So after the Venezuela thing happened, he made a post where he said, I'm so, of course, being super sarcastic. He's like, I'm so shocked. I'm so shocked, I tell you, that not a single charismatic prophet saw this coming in Venezuela. Well, that's untrue. That's dishonest, which it always is. I've actually never listened to someone who's devoted their life to attacking other Christians who's honest. Never have I seen one. They always, because they have a spirit of accusation, they always only pick stories that align with what they want. They'll pull out the most severe cases, because there are misuses, and there are moral failures, and there are things like that. There are hypocrites. I get that, but they'll pull all of those out and highlight them while they ignore everything authentic that would completely expose their position as not accurate and dishonest. So they're always dishonest. So anyway, or they're ignorant. It could be that he doesn't know about this, but I found one example. Kim Clement, who I believe was South African. He's in heaven now. So the overthrow of Maduro prophesied. It's really quite stunning. So this was back in 2012. So you're a liar, sir, on X, saying that no charismatic prophet saw it coming. Kim Clement did. It just was way before it happened. So he prophesied that the Lord has delivered us from a wicked leader in Venezuela, and that was all the way back in 2012. So there's a video if you want to go watch it. I'm not going to take the time to watch it, but just to expose the person who posted that for the dishonest, disingenuous, and I will say liar that he is, because he is. And if he doesn't know, if he's unintentionally lying, then he's incredibly stupid and can't, it's apparently impossible to set your bias aside. He can't there's no integrity there. There's literally none. And there's arrogance in there as well, which is, again, I wouldn't want to be him. But anyway, next. 2026 mega is on fire. Walz won't seek re-election. That dude's going to end up in prison. You watch. Vaccine schedule reduced. Let's go. Hegseth is demoting Kelly for sedition. Good. He's a terrible person. Maduro was arraigned in New York City. Surge of agents sent to Minnesota. We just sent more. We just sent, I think, 1,000 more ICE agents to Minnesota. I don't think that's enough. I think you should send in the National Guard and whoever else you have on standby and clean the place out, because the way they're acting there, you need to clean the place out. You really do. Gas is below $3 in 40 states. Dow closes at record high. I voted for this. So did I. So this is what I'm saying. For everyone who's attacking Trump because of one thing, or, there are just, I wanted this, or, everyone who freaked out when we bombed Iran's, so they couldn't enrich uranium or whatever. So they couldn't have nukes because they're a bloodthirsty death cult. They can't have nukes. And it's not just to defend Israel. Iran hates America, and they would attack America had they had the ability. They will, under this regime, which is about to fall. But so for everyone who's like, having this attitude, oh, Trump's promised this and blah, blah, blah. Look at all the stuff he promised that he's delivered on. You can't tell me your life, unless you're a leftist, then you're probably miserable. But if you're a normal person, whether you're conservative or just normal and just like you have a shred of honesty in you, you would have to admit you're better off now than you were under Biden. Prices are falling. It's not going to happen overnight. The whole economic thing, it's going to take time. The tariffs are working. Even the biggest haters and naysayers over the tariffs have had to admit they're working. They're working. But these things are going to take time because there's a whole system that every president just kicked the can further down the road. Trump finally said, let's just rip off the Band-Aid. That's what he did. And so it's going to take some time for all of this stuff to, to level out and to really take full effect. So work with him. You know what I'm saying? Just be thankful for all of the good things that you have now and for all of the good things that are yet to come, because he's certainly, he's working for the people. He is. Next. The Trump administration officially cuts the childhood vaccine schedule from 72 shots down to just 11. This is by far one of the most important moves made by this administration. This is very good. Protecting children's health is essential to the nation's future. Effective today, America, so 72 down to 11. I'm not going to read the rest of it. That's from Benny Johnson. That's great. And the funny thing too is if you have a kid and you take them to get their shots and you make them tell you what they're all for, you could have eliminated half of those yourself. Like, what's my kid doing getting an HPV shot when they're 6 months old or whatever? I don't think my kid's going to be hoeing around at 6 months, and things like that. And they were just pumping very small bodies full of a ton of shots that have, now we know enough. We have enough integrity in this administration to realize so many negative effects of those vaccines. And I'm not even like an anti-vaxxer per se. I'm sure when vaccines, like back in the day, they were necessary and they did help us eradicate certain diseases. All of those things I'm thankful for. So vaccines should be a good thing. The problem is you have big pharma and you have depopulationists, Satanists like Bill Gates, who have their hand in that industry for whatever reason. And so they've become something that should be good for people to something that kills and disables and sterilizes people and might spread autism. I don't know. There does seem to be a correlation there, which I thought that was insane when I first heard that. I was like, yeah, right. There's no way. But now I think there's probably something to it. Is this what I just read? I'm about to move on. Okay, no, it's not. So J.D. Vance's home attacker has officially been confirmed as transgender. This is a little bit old news, but I wanted to talk about it. So it was a he, she again. The violent trend continues. Add it to the list. So the Trump would-be assassin Thomas Crooks used they, them pronouns, explored gender identity. Charlie Kirk's assassination, Tyler Robinson had a furry obsession and lived with a transgender boyfriend. Annunciation Catholic church shooter identified as trans. Nashville Christian shooter identified as trans. Lakewood church shooter identified as trans. Colorado Springs shooter identified as non-binary. Denver shooter identified as trans. Aberdeen shooter, trans. Iowa high school shooter, trans activist. So I think this is Betty Johnson again. The epidemic of transgender violence is running rampant in our country. The threat is growing. Yeah, I mean, at this point, aren't we past the point of trying to deny? It's very simple pattern recognition, okay? Trans people are out of their minds. They need psychiatric help, and most likely, in every case, they need deliverance. And so if you just pat them on the back and give them hormone blockers and encourage them to be a psycho, you're kind of asking for an unhinged person to do an unhinged thing. So that's why you have so much violence, because they're actually insane and likely demon possessed. Next. So from Elon Musk, he said the fraud in California, New York, and Illinois is far greater than in Minnesota. Wow. I don't know what he knows. This may be coming from his time with Doge. My guess is, my guess for how much fraud is happening nationwide is roughly 10% of the federal budget, so about $700 billion per year. I wouldn't be surprised because what Doge did, obviously Doge only did so much, and I'm thankful for what they did. Great job. But what Nick Shirley uncovered in Minnesota is really probably the tip of the iceberg. I'm not saying for Minnesota, I'm saying nationwide. I bet you there is way more, because look at even with the whole SNAP stuff going on. Whenever the government shutdown happened and it exposed a bunch of fraud when it comes to like SNAP and EBT and those kind of programs. I don't know how people do it, to be honest. I don't know how they're like doing that in the system. I've never like been on that stuff, but I thought you had to, obviously you got to prove who you are. I would think you'd have to prove citizenship. I would think you'd have to show something that proves you need that support, and then maybe they don't work like unemployment. I know unemployment gives you like a specified amount of time, and like you need to find a job by then. Like this is the allotted amount that we'll give you, and here's when it's going to run out, and you're supposed to be applying for jobs the whole time that you're on it. So I don't know why they didn't have the same kind of system for getting government aid. It's one thing if someone like is actually disabled and is unable to work. Like I actually have no problem if some of what I earn were to help someone like that, because I can work and they can't. I would be fine with that. I'd be fine with helping veterans. But what I think most people are sick of is not helping, but being stolen from by able-bodied people who can work, but they're lazy and they won't work because they'll stop getting their government checks. That's a problem. And so all you're doing is stealing from the people who work and stealing from the taxpayers. And that's not right. And so that's why everybody's outraged. All right. This is what I accidentally put up earlier. This is one of the best Trump impersonations, which really anyone who does a Trump impersonation, I've never seen anyone suck at it. But this is great. Let's watch it.
My fellow Americans, it is my great honor to announce the capture of Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro, a very nasty person with a very stupid mustache. He's very stupid. And he broke what's called the Trump doctrine. F around and find out. And he effed around for too long. And now we found out. Our beautiful men and women of our military entered his home through a hole that was created after we attached Chris Christie to a wrecking ball. We blew a big, beautiful hole in the house, and they said to me, "Sir, we found him, sir. He's sleeping like a baby in Hello Kitty pajamas, believe it or not. He was in Hello Kitty pajamas, sucking his thumb in the fetal position. They said to me, "Sir, what do you want us to do, sir?" I said, "Get him out," and they got him out. I want to congratulate the new president of Venezuela, Marco Rubio. He's going to do a tremendous job, just like he does in all of his jobs, but he's going to be a great president of Venezuela. They call him El Marco Grande, right? El Marco Grande. That means Big Marco. He's Big Marco now. But when we convict Maduro, we're going to shave off that horrible, stupid mustache, and we're looking at where to send him. We're looking at CCOT. It's a beautiful place in El Salvador, a very tough place. And if he goes there, maybe the Democrats can have a margarita with him. You know, they like to do that. So maybe they can do that. Or we may send him to Somalia. There's no worse punishment than to send a person to a complete dump of a country. It's a dump. I call it a sugar, honey, iced tea hole. You know what I'm talking about, Somalia. It's a very nasty place. But the days of Maduro sending drugs and gang members into our country are over. Tren de Aragua, they used to be Tren de Aquí, now they're Tren de Adios, they're Tren de Annihilated. And let this serve as a message to the rest of the world. If you're a dictator who threatens the United States, including the Ayatollah of Iran and his many wives or goats or whatever the hell he's doing in that cave, we're going to come for you too. Do not break the Trump doctrine. F around and find out. If you abide by it, you're not going to have a problem. But if you break the Trump doctrine, you're going to have a lot of problems. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Great job. Maybe the best I've seen. And I've seen some really good ones. Like whoever did I think Austin Nasso is one of them. And then some other guy, they both did one where Trump is like your GPS or something. Great job. But even if you hate Trump and you hate what he does politically, you have got to admit that man has done more for like the internet than any president, than any politician, even more than any celebrity. He's given us like so much content that much of which is unedited, just stuff he actually said. But he also, the opportunity he's given to people like that guy, the impersonators and things like that, or impressionists, whatever you want to call them. He's unmatched. The guy is just great. Next. All right. So Jewish students at Columbia chanting God bless America, while the pro-Palestine students chant death to America. Well, again, it's getting a little bit harder for everyone who thinks Jews are the devil. You need to look at the people who hate Jews the most, which are typically, obviously, Nazis, which apparently we have again in even among conservatives. That, and then the jihadists, the Muslims. Okay, they hate Jews probably more than anybody. So are those the people you want to be in bed with? And communists hate them, and very far left people hate them. And yet there you have Jews doing nothing but being proud to be in America and here to support the country. And then you have the alternative who want to see the place destroyed and taken over by radical Islam. No thanks. I'm with the Jews. Breaking: President Trump to ban institutional investors from buying single-family homes. See, this is another thing he's doing for the people that he's probably not even getting creds for, but he is working against the entire financial system that has oppressed and all but destroyed the middle class, because the middle class is the one that can't be controlled. You have the very poor people who rely on the government. You can do whatever you want, because if you're going to starve them, they'll do whatever you say. And then you have the upper, high class elites who, are probably bought already, and they already are in the circle. So they're under your control. The middle class is the only one that they've tried to really, squeeze out or whatever, because the middle class has enough money to be independent and to make up their own mind. And so in order to take away that whole demographic, you got to find a way to make them a financial slave so you can control them. And Trump's fighting that. Breaking: President Trump deported over 500,000 illegal immigrants in his first year in office. Praise God. I actually think the number may be higher than that. That also looks like it came from New York Times, and they don't really ever tell the truth. I think it's actually much higher than that. But even if it is only 500,000, I'm happy, and let's increase those rookie numbers. Next. New from Colin Roog, the mom of Mom Donnie's aide, who said owning a house is a weapon of white supremacy, has a $1.6 million house in Tennessee, according to the New York Post. Office of Tenant Protection Director Sia Weaver thinks New York City should be able to seize private property. This is what happens when you elect a socialist, kids. She's also bizarrely, I don't know if that's a word, whatever, claimed back in 2019 that private property, including any kind of especially home ownership, is a weapon of white supremacy. The left is unmatched when it comes to just demonizing white people for no reason. According to Weaver's own logic, her mom, Celia Applegate, is fueling white supremacy. Considering she has a $1.6 million home in Nashville, according to the Post, the house was purchased by Applegate and her partner for over $800,000 in 2012. It is now worth about $1.6 million. Yeah, so that's typical of the left. They're just that's just another example of the bottomless hypocrisy. You shouldn't expect to have anything. You shouldn't own anything. Meanwhile, they have like 4 houses. You're oppressing people. Okay, tell us how, like Michelle Obama, as a Black woman, I've just been so oppressed. Yes, you have 4 houses. You lived in the White House. I'm sure you're so oppressed, Michelle, Mike, whatever you are. Pretty sure you have something you shouldn't have if you want us to believe that you're a female. That's one conspiracy theory. Not that I don't believe a lot of conspiracy theories, but I definitely believe that one. I think Big Mike Obama's a dude. I really do. A trans dude. And I think Barry is gay. There's been enough people who've come on the record, like from before Mike was in the picture, when, you know, Barack Obama was in college. Yeah, we had a gay relationship. Like, I've heard enough and I've seen enough. I believe it. Next. Plastic surgeons across the United States are now using purified fat from cadavers for cosmetic procedures, including BBLs. That is not only disgusting and heinous, that is straight up unethical. Doctors are using dead bodies to extract fat and injecting it into patients. Do people know this when they go in for a BBL? Because if you know it and you still go do it, I don't know how to describe you. You're sick. You're actually sick. The product, aloe clay, is made from sterile fat harvested from cadavers, which is administered through in-office injections, according to the New York Post. Before it's injected, the donor fat undergoes a multi-step cleansing, sterilization, and purification process that removes cellular debris, DNA, and other elements that could trigger a negative immune response in the body, the Post reported. Okay, I don't care about the purification process. Who would want to have fat from a dead body injected into their body? Why would you want anything from a dead body even touching you on the outside, much less going inside your body? That's so disgusting. And how is that not unethical? That's like, there's a restaurant, I don't know if it's still there, but at least there was a restaurant in California, and I don't remember the name of it, but they sold human flesh. They cooked it, and you know, you could go eat. You could go be a cannibal. And on their website, it said, don't worry, all of our, you know, product or whatever is ethically sourced. There's no such thing as ethically sourced human meat. That is cannibalism. It is in fact unethical. So no matter how you try to spin it, you can't justify that. Okay. That's disgusting and it's evil. So I just wonder, you know, and I'm not even, this may be a rare take for a Christian. I'm not even against BBLs if you use your own fat. If you have a fat transfer, let's say you have a lot of fat in your arms and you don't like it and you'd rather it go to your thighs or your hips or whatever, I don't even think that's wrong if you're literally taking your own fat and just moving it to another part of your body. That's like body recomposition, which happens when you lift weights. And that's you're just choosing a cosmetic way to do it. So I would even be okay with people doing that. I know people get BBLs and they get, I would draw the line at implants. I think that's crossing a line, but if it's your own fat getting moved around, whatever, same way, you want a tummy tuck, knock yourself out. You want to get a nose job, that's fine. I don't think, if it's okay to straighten your teeth, I don't think it should be wrong to straighten your nose. I don't. But I would draw the line at implants, and I'd absolutely draw the line at dead body fat being injected into your body. You got to ask the question, where are the cadavers coming from? Who's out here just desecrating dead bodies? That's disgusting. Good Lord. So I don't know if people are told that or not, but that there was a video attached to that I didn't take the time to play, and the doctor's just talking about it and being super chill. So I don't know that she thinks it's a problem. Next, I don't know how it's not illegal. All right. The oldest living groyper says it's a distinct possibility that Trump captured Maduro because of Maduro's opposition to gay marriage. What a retarded thing to say, Tucker. You're a massive idiot these days. Wow. He also says Maduro is a genuine social conservative and that the U.S. action is aimed at introducing gay marriage to Venezuela. I've never seen anybody turn so hard so fast. I don't know what Tucker, and again, I never listened to him. I guess I liked him just because he was conservative. I never listened to him, but I don't know how you go from being the way that you were, where most all conservatives loved him, as far as I know, to being just a straight up like Islamist shill or whatever. I guarantee you, unless there's an act of God in his life, he's going to convert to Islam, because that's all he does is he supports Muslims. He's essentially pro Sharia law. He's like, it's really got a lot of good things about it. I know, isn't it great? Like domestic violence, isn't it awesome in Sharia law? You can beat your wife, you can rape and marry kids, you can bang a goat if you want. That's great. Sharia law is awesome, isn't it, Tucker? Like it's one freezing cold take after another, and he's obviously been propped up and paid by Muslims. And so I don't, any conservatives that are still listening to him, how don't you see through it? How don't you see through it? He doesn't support anything Trump does. Seriously, the only people mad about the Venezuela thing are liberals here in America, and then so-called conservatives like Tucker Carlson. All the other conservatives that aren't insane or possessed, whatever he is, aren't paid to simp for Islam. All of us are like, wow, that's awesome. That's great for Venezuela. Those people are getting liberated. That country can go back to being an awesome, thriving country like it once was. No one's upset except for liberals and Tucker Carlson. And then communists, I'm sure, are like people. Trump haters are upset because it doesn't matter what Trump does. He could cure cancer, and they'd be like, I can't believe I didn't give my consent for him to cure my cancer. I hate him. He's the worst. Okay. Next. Tucker insists Nicolas Maduro is a social conservative and opposed to the LGBTQ agenda. And there you have Nicolas Maduro waving a pride flag. So kind of seems like you're not telling the truth, Tucker. You're just looking for a way to attack and oppose whatever Trump is doing. I don't know what's wrong with you these days, but I think you should get deliverance, you should get help, or you should be out of the public, like off the public stage. You should have your voice taken and your platform removed if all you're going to do is spread propaganda for Islam and attack Trump. Okay? Next. If you're wondering why Tucker Carlson, a supposed MAGA conservative, is rushing to the defense of a Marxist socialist dictator in Venezuela, it might help to know that Nicolas Maduro, like his predecessor Hugo Chavez, despises Jews and despises Israel. Oh, so that's what it's about. So it's not actually about Trump. It's about Israel and Jewish people, which I don't think Tucker hates anybody more than he hates Jews and Israel. So that must be what it's about. And that's, again, probably because he's all but a jihadist these days. I'm telling you, his conversion to Islam without an act of God is around the corner. Next. America first. Today, President Donald J. Trump signed a presidential memorandum directing the withdrawal of the United States from 66 international organizations that no longer serve American interests, including 35 non-UN organizations and 31 UN entities. All right. Way to go, Trump. I think the reason he's been attacked to the extent that he has, literally getting shot at, but also just smeared in the media right and left, is he threatens the globalists. So it's actually beyond liberal or leftist Americans, and it goes all the way up to the globalists. And America's the last man standing. As soon as America falls to the one world, the Antichrist system that's coming, one world government, one world everything, America's the last domino to fall. And Trump specifically, if Kamala Harris got in, we would have globalist stuff rolled out, and then Jesus would be back, I'm sure, much sooner. We've been given a window of grace here with Trump standing in the way of globalism being established in America. And as long as we refuse to cave, other countries are going to stand. Because like it or not, I know people who are non-Americans accuse America of thinking that, everything is about us and we rule the world. I'm not saying that, but it's undeniable. The influence of America is felt around the world. Someone from New Zealand told me, if America sneezes, New Zealand catches a cold. So what happens here is felt around the world, whether people like to admit that or not. And so Trump being defiant in the face of globalism and literally taking steps to remove us from globalist influence is why this attack on him, because no one else has done it. Everyone else came. Barack Obama was for it. Biden, Kamala Harris would have been. Trump is the only one. He's like, nope, screw the globalists. We're not doing that. And so they're like, all right, we got to kill this guy, which is why they've tried. And I really don't expect them to stop trying, to be honest. I actually saw a video where someone said the other day, they think it's not, he didn't say it word for word, but they think he literally went to DC to try to kill Trump. So Libs of TikTok account saw it and told the Secret Service and the FBI, like, because the guy was actually in DC. He's like, did you guys not believe I was going to do it? Look where I am. And he's in DC, which, like, I understand there have been holes in Trump's security, which I would fire them all and get like a private company or something. It's almost like they want him to, someone inside like wants him to get shot, I think, or they just really suck. But you look like a beta male, possibly gay. I don't think that you're going to take out Trump just because you're in DC. And I don't think you're going to be successful. Next. Residents in a neighborhood in Brooklyn, New York are complaining that they are forced to listen to the Islamic call to prayer 5 times a day, starting as early as 5 a.m. What should be done in this situation? I don't know. You guys voted in an Islamic communist, socialist. So you vote in a Muslim. What are you surprised about? And, and here's the thing, too. New York has a ton of Jews in it. Like more, I think there are more outside of Israel. I think there are more Jews in Israel in New York than there are anywhere else. So did people have this problem with the Jews being there forever? No, this is a problem with the Muslims because Jews can assimilate. And I understand they are largely, there are tons of Jews in Hollywood, tons of Jews in the banking system, tons of Jews in big business. I understand all that. Okay. But the thing is, they don't force their religion. They don't do forced conversions. They don't cut off your head if you don't, convert to their religion. They just assimilate. Yeah, they get into business, and yeah, they have powerful positions, and they're all over the place. But they assimilate, meaning they can be Jewish and go to synagogue, and you can be left alone if you're anything else. Muslims don't do that. Their entire religion is literally based on conversion. You go take territory and you make everybody a Muslim. And if anyone doesn't want to do it, you kill them. So again, I don't really understand people who are acting like the Jews are the threat. It's really the radical. It's Islam. It's not a hard thing to like understand. Next. When I was 23, I took out a loan and built my first house in Georgia. It took long hours and hard work, but back then, a 23-year-old could still make that happen. You can't do that now. EPA regulations, government red tape, and higher costs have slammed the door on young families. What the president has done today is a massive step in the right direction. He's prioritizing you. It's time to end the barriers to home ownership and let more Americans chase their version of the American dream. Yeah, so again, that's another thing. Trump is helping financially. He's helping socially. I mean, again, there's social divide and unrest, but that's because you have a portion of the American population who straight up hates America. They hate America. Any conflict there is, they're always for the other country. They want us sold out to globalism. They want communism. They want, I don't even understand, because those people are literally for government control. Like, they're for government control. They want the government like doing everything, and yet they call Trump a fascist. He's this authoritarian, whatever dictator. Is he? Or is he literally ripping up the government? Which administration like removed a ton of federal employees? Which one is exposing fraud that's stealing directly from you if you're working? And you're telling me that Trump's a dictator. He's literally giving more back to the people and taking from the government, lessening the government, which is the opposite really of what a dictator does. But people throw that word around, he's a fascist. You are an idiot. You don't even know what that means. Half the time, if you were to ask them to define it, they don't even know what it means. They don't. I just know he's a dictator, and I know he's the worst. What's going on with my hair? So it's almost like they just regurgitate these liberal talking points that they probably hear on CNN or MSNBC, or if they're dumb enough to watch The View, because they don't even know what they believe or why. They just keep spewing the things they're hearing said, which is why mainstream media is a cancer. It's propaganda. People in China know it's propaganda, so they don't watch. It amazes me that in America we're that slow to figure out this is propaganda. All these people are saying the same thing. Oh my gosh, it's almost like they have a script. Yes, they have a script. There are reasons I didn't go into broadcasting school. I could see some of that stuff back in, when was that, 2016? Yeah, I saw some of the writing on the wall. I was like, I can't be part of that, because I'm not going to be dishonest, and I'm not going to take a job and then be told, go cover this story. But here's the angle. Here's what we actually want you to tell. So get enough, to make the story, but it's going to be from this perspective, and it's dishonest. I'm not going to do that. So I wouldn't have lasted a day. Next. They do this almost every time. They say one thing on X and another on Facebook. The Hodge twins are grifting frauds. Yeah, they made two completely different posts, one on X and one on Facebook, that were pretty much competing viewpoints. I noticed this. The Hodge twins sold out at some point, which is disappointing because I really liked them. But they sold when they really, it started when they, I started noticing it when they started reposting Candace Owens. So her cancer must have gotten on them, or whatever's wrong with her, or they're being paid. But now pretty much all they care about is how can we talk against Israel? And that's most important to them. They've sold. It's probably money or it's demonic. I don't know. It's a shame because I really did like them. But I'm not going to cling to anybody that I just can't follow anymore. It's not that hard. You can just unfollow and move on with your life. And for every person who's disappointing, like Tucker Carlson, Hodge twins, even Candace, there are plenty more people who aren't like that. So don't be sad if they go nuts. You just don't have to follow. Next. Press Secretary, the Trump administration is now updating federal nutrition standards and guidelines to ensure that Americans have the most accurate, data-driven information supported by science and hard facts, not special interests or partisan ideology. I like that. That's another thing is previous administrations wanted to poison you and kill you. And now we've got an updated, here we go. This is the new food pyramid that I think RFK Jr. was really behind. And this is the way it should be. I have a degree in nutrition. And even if I didn't, this stuff is common sense. But I will say, even some of the stuff that I was taught in school, we were taught things that came from the CDC and the FDA, and now we know they're all full of crap. So even things I was taught, because it was a university, which is nothing more than an indoctrination camp for the left, I was taught things that I know are not true. Okay, they demonized salt. Salt's not the problem. You need salt. You need a ton of salt. Sugar's the devil. But anyway, this is a very good pyramid. So you have protein, meat, real meat being prioritized, healthy fats, that's good, vegetables and fruit, common sense, and then at the bottom there, whole grains, which even if you like, for whatever reason, if you have a sensitivity, an intolerance, or a full-blown allergy to gluten, there are, I get if you don't want to go down there to the bottom, but that whole thing looks good, and it does look different. And I do love to see the changes that it looks like they're making in the food industry. I was listening to Joseph Z, who has a prophetic gift. He's awesome. I love that guy. He said he thinks that there's going to be big changes coming to the beef supply. So whether that means, they pump it full of all kinds of hormones and different things that shouldn't be in your food. And I don't know why they're doing, it's probably just to kill people. Because again, these things come down from depopulation. It's like Bill Gates, and he's a globalist. So it's probably just to make people sick and kill them. But anyway, so Joseph Z was saying he thinks that either we're going to see the companies that are currently doing that are putting all kinds of trash in your food that shouldn't be there, they're going to stop doing that, and they're going to just sell you meat as it should be sold, or they're just going to get passed up, and you're going to start to see direct farmer to consumer, and that's going to take on or take off, which I would be happy. It's a little bit of a hassle. I mean, I know I have people in my family who bought like a whole cow, or like maybe not a whole cow, because I don't know if you have room for that, but like half a cow. And then they would just keep the beef in the freezer because you can get it directly from farmers. And that's really the way to go. That way you're not getting poisoned by whatever they've put in the beef that you're buying at the store. And it's a shame because it's inconvenient to not be able to just go to a grocery store and get all of the food that you want and need in one place. But, you know, if they're going to do that, I do understand. Farmers markets should be like blowing up at this point. I think enough people, like, again, we're like past conspiracy theories. No, they're not poisoning the food supply, bro. Like, we all know they're doing that. We all know about chemtrails. We all know about fluoride in the water and stuff. So it's like, you're not a conspiracy theorist anymore. It's like everybody else is like now aware of it. And a lot of that we can thank RFK Jr. For people who didn't know before, you know now because of what he's doing. So he's doing a great job. I'm super happy with him. Next. All right, Brandy with a B. Closed borders, lower gas, smaller government, safer streets, lower taxes, lower borrowing rates, better trade policies, investment into the U.S., world stage respect, peace through strength, and it's only been a year. Yeah, look at everything Trump did in a year, you guys. All of these freaking, what was Trump calling them? Panicans and the black pillars and all these, you know, blah, 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 blah. Why don't we have answers on this? Why isn't this cleaned up? Look at everything he's done in a year, man. Come on. Give credit where credit is due. Be thankful. How about that? God forbid you're thankful. Do you know what the alternative is? The alternative is alcoholic Kamala Harris. That's the alternative here. So how about instead of complaining about everything the Trump administration has failed to do or hasn't done to the, you know, the standard that you think it should be done to, how about being thankful that Kamala Harris is not in the White House? Can you just be thankful and thank God for what you have? Thank God that he clearly still has his hand of favor on this nation. Otherwise, it would be Kamala Harris and it would be over. Next. Breaking House Oversight Committee to subpoena billionaire investor Les Wexner. Oh, in the Epstein probe. So they were like, I'm pretty sure they were like neighbors in New Albany. Of course, I'm sure Les Wexner has properties everywhere. And he's, you know, from Ohio, I think still lives there. Big investor into Ohio State, which is unfortunate because if stuff comes out, as I assume it will, that's going to reflect poorly on us. And Ohio State doesn't deserve that. We can't help it that a billionaire decided to donate and then turned out to be a sick, you know, pedophile or whatever he was. I mean, nothing's been charged. So I can't like make accusations, but I have a feeling there's probably going to be stuff there that they're going to find because I think he and Epstein were like tight. You know what I'm saying? Next. Allah allows Muslim men to rape non-Muslim women to humiliate them. Interesting. Watch a Muslim Brotherhood news anchor tell viewers that the mass rape of infidel women is a good thing. So again, not that you have to pick between Jews and Muslims, but like if it's kind of coming down to that, or like for Tucker Carlson, it came down to that and he picked Muslims. That's stuff that they actually think. They think it's okay to just rape people whenever they want, especially if they're not Muslims, because it's a way they're like beneath you. You know what I'm saying? So this should be something that you don't want in your country. This is not conducive with Western culture at all. It doesn't work here. Next. American flag being burned on the streets of Minneapolis. These people are the enemy. Yeah, anyone burning an American flag, I think you should be deported even if you've never lived anywhere else. They should just pick some place and send you there because you don't deserve being here if you hate the country you're in. Leave. Next. Greenlandic opposition leader calls for direct talks between Greenland and the U.S. without Denmark. Oh, Denmark getting cut out of the talk. Accuses Denmark of antagonizing both Greenland and the U.S. The comments come as the Trump admin is reportedly considering paying $100,000 to each resident of Greenland. All right. They keep claiming that Greenland belongs to the Greenlandic people when everybody else is listening, said whatever that person's name is. And whatever that party leader is, I'm not going to try to say it. The next moment you hear them talking about the integrity of their territory, the kingdom's territorial integrity, which means they just reduced us to lines on a map instead of people. Okay. From what I hear, I know Trump's been talking about acquiring Greenland since last year. From what I hear, the people of Greenland want that. They want to become part of the United States. I don't know how that would work if they would just become a U.S. territory like Puerto Rico. I am assuming that would be the case. But Trump is also, he said, if we don't move on Greenland, then Russia or China will. And I'm not about to have them being our neighbor. So it's, I'm not sure what all is going to shake out about that. I do think we're going to get Greenland. I hope it comes amicably. I hope, Denmark is showing aggression, but Greenland isn't. So if they just listen to the people and let the people have a say, I think that we'll acquire Greenland peacefully. And I hope it's peaceful. However it goes down, I hope it's peaceful. I do hope it's not us just barging in and taking it. I hope that it goes down nicely, but I do think we're going to get Greenland, and it's full. Dang, is that place full of natural resources, rare minerals. Like, it'll be good for us if we get that. And I guarantee it'll be good for Greenland too. We'll take care of them. I bet you anything. It'll be mutually the beneficial if that happens. Next. Just in, protesters marched through the streets of Minneapolis following the death of Renee Good. F ICE. The protesters were heard chanting as they marched in, footage shared by that person. Earlier in the evening, protesters gathered where Good was shot and chanted, "Rise up, take a stand." Okay, this is why I'm saying I would send in the National Guard. I would send in Marines. I'd send in Navy SEALs or whatever you got to do. I would literally clean that place out. I would turn it upside down because I think Minnesota has like an evil principality that's over that state, and probably Minneapolis has its own as well. That state's had problems since before Tim Walz, and it's insane how insane they are. You had the George Floyd thing, who was a drug addict and a drug dealer, pulled a gun on a pregnant person, terrible person. You had outrage, over that. And now you have outrage over this person who got shot, which I've seen the videos. Okay. You can't try to run. Well, first of all, you can't try to run over anybody with your car. That's vehicular manslaughter. You can't just, you can't just do that. That's homicide, right? It's murder. Your car can. And so what's he supposed to do? If you're the ICE officer, you're supposed to just let yourself get run over? I wouldn't. I would have fired. And the thing is, everyone's, well, he probably had time to take out the tires. I don't know if he did or not. That's like if someone breaks into your house, are you going to take out their legs, or are you just going to shoot to stop them? I would probably fire to stop the person. And if they all go in your heart, you shouldn't have broken into my house. So if you're going to try to run me over with your car, you're going to get shot. And the thing is, she wasn't there, she was there intentionally to agitate and to oppose ICE. She was part of a group where that's what they do. I forget the name of it. She's a radical leftist, a lesbian now with a kid. And, she was there. She knew what she was doing. She had an agenda. She could have just made the choice to not do that. I don't understand the disrespect that ICE is getting. It doesn't even make sense why people are so opposed. You're white. Pretty sure you were born here. She's from like Missouri or something. You're not at risk of getting deported. So why do you have a problem with ICE? I'm a social justice warrior. No, you're not. You don't care about those people. You have a spirit of lawlessness. I think that's the only explanation here, is these people are actually operating under the influence of a spirit of lawlessness. That has to be it, because ICE isn't doing anything wrong. ICE is doing their job. They're deporting people who are here illegally, which is illegal. So they're enforcing the law. And for you guys to have a problem with that tells me you like lawlessness and you have a problem with lawful things. So that's a spirit. And nothing else makes sense. You can't explain their behavior any other way. And Minnesota is now, since she got shot, which was her fault. It was her fault. Anyone defending her, you're blind. You haven't seen the videos, or you're dishonest, or you're demon possessed and you can't see straight. That's likely it. Because, the same people who are outraged that she got shot are largely the same people who celebrated when Charlie Kirk got shot. Was Charlie Kirk trying to kill someone? No. Was he in a vehicle accelerating towards someone with the intent of running them over? No. Charlie Kirk was sitting down with a microphone, speaking freely at an event in the open air, and he got shot in the neck, murdered. And you guys 3D printed it. You guys made Halloween costumes out of it. You guys laughed at it and rejoiced over it. And now you're outraged that this lady got shot as she tried to run over a federal law enforcement officer. This is why I'll never argue with someone who's like that, because you can't get through. You can't get through. It would actually take an act of God to get through to someone like that, to help them think, to help them see, to help them just have a minuscule amount of logic or reason. And they don't have it. They don't have it. Everything is emotion, and everything is so biased, and it has to be a spirit. Like, it really has to be, because I don't think you can get that way naturally. Even if you consume mainstream media, even if you watch The View, I don't think that that's enough. There has to be a spirit involved. There just has to be. And we're so close to the end times. We're in it. We're in like the final seconds of the last days. And we know that lawlessness will increase, is what the Bible says. So I think that's the only explanation for what we're seeing. That's why Minnesota is doing what Minnesota is doing. That's why people will completely ignore logic and reason and rationale, and they will side with criminals, because that's what the Democrats have been doing since Trump took office. Defending the criminal who slit the girl's throat in Charlotte, it was even before Trump, George Floyd, defending the criminal, now defending all the illegal aliens, many of which have been murderers and rapists and child molesters and things, defending them who are getting lawfully and rightfully deported and should get much worse than that. They're defending criminals. So that has to be none other than the spirit of lawlessness at work, which the Bible told us word for word was going to increase. So just know, if you sit down to argue with someone like that, you're probably going to end up talking to a demon, and you can't reason with a demon. They have to be cast out. They can't be counseled. They can't be, you can't have a conversation with them. They just have to be cast out. So next. Breaking. Jim Cramer says investors should avoid buying stocks right now. So here's my advice, is buy stocks, because whatever Jim Cramer says, do the opposite of it. I'm pretty sure on Autopilot, which, if you don't know what Autopilot is, it is an app. It's a stock investment app, and it uses AI to track. It has one profile called the Pelosi tracker. So it will take whatever money you give it, and it will automatically apply whatever Nancy Pelosi does to her stocks, and it'll do the same for yours. So if she buys something, it buys for you. If she sells something, it sells for you, because she's really good at stock trading, right? Somehow. And so Jim Cramer, there's a profile, I think it's called Inverse Cramer, I think is the name of it. And it was like the #1 profile last year or something like that, which means everything Jim Cramer does, this profile does the opposite, and it's been better than like any others, which tells you he's an idiot. Don't listen to him. So if he says don't buy stocks, go buy stocks. Do the opposite of everything he says. I don't know if he's, working for someone to try to screw Americans out of making money, or he's just actually that dumb. I don't know, but do the opposite. Next. A Minneapolis McDonald's is refusing entry to ICE agents. They even have a security guard placed outside. Okay, it's amazing how the business, this is why I tell you, there's a principality over that place, I think, because even the businesses, which should be happy to have business, which should be not really having a dog in the fight, unless all of your employees are going to get deported or something like that. The businesses shouldn't be involved here, and yet we've seen that they are. So there's big problems there. Major breaking. JD Vance announces new nationwide assistant AG position to prosecute mass fraud. Let's freaking go. Beginning in Minnesota, let's go. We are creating a new assistant attorney general position who will have nationwide jurisdiction over the issue of fraud. See, I knew it. As soon as Ilhan Omar, whatever her name is, as soon as she and all the other Somalians there, they kept running their mouths. They were very loud, very arrogant, attacking Trump, drawing attention to themselves. I'm like, I guarantee all that's going to do is bring a spotlight over to you guys, and then they're going to find some stuff out. And exactly that has happened. Exactly that has happened. And so now Minnesota, Tim Walz is done for. He's all but done for. They've uncovered, Nick Shirley did. God bless that kid. He did more than like all of the media combined, what he broke. A couple other things, which is interesting, from Joseph Z, who again has the prophetic gift. He said for 2026, he thinks that citizen journalism is going to blow up, and that's going to really be the order of the day. And so, which we've already seen that really with X since, God bless Elon Musk, he bought X. He restored free speech, and people can actually go there to get their news instead of being lied to by the propagandists on the mainstream media. So with the rise of citizen journalism, we're actually going to get to the bottom of things, because they're not paid by anybody. They're not blackmailed. If they, no one knew who Nick Shirley was until he exposed all of this in Minnesota. So that'll be great for exposure. And also it's funny, on January 1st, I was praying over the new year, which I've been praying every day over it, but I was specifically praying over the year in its entirety. And one of the things I prayed for, just kind of came out of my spirit, was justice. Praying that justice would be done this year, because we've all gotten so frustrated at this point to know about the deep state, know about the corruption, know about the fraud, know about how the citizens have been getting robbed, and there's been no justice. And that's very frustrating. So I was praying, and I thought justice is coming this year. And then I was listening to Joseph Z, and wouldn't you know it, he said the exact same thing, that he thinks justice is coming. And that's probably largely tied to the citizen journalism thing, because however much they uncover, the thing in Minnesota is too big to ignore. It's way too big to ignore. And it's like a domino effect, because as soon as they found that out there, then people start looking into Ohio, not far from where I'm at, and in Columbus, and finding, same things going on here. And so, and then you have this, what JD Vance just announced with the assistant attorney general or whatever, who will dedicate their entire job is to deal with fraud, nationwide. So this is I believe a tipping point. And it's amazing that I know Nick Shirley, this came out right at the end of December. But what a way to start the year. We this is all coming out. You've got a dictator removed and in custody. We'll get to it. Iran on the brink of freedom. You've got Minnesota. I'm sure. I know they sent in 1,000 more ICE agents. You're going to need more than that. I'm sure Minnesota is going to get rocked because of the unrest that's there now. And these people keep pushing, and they think that they can just kill federal law enforcement officers. So I'm pretty sure it's going to come down to military going in or something. Something's gonna diffuse it. So I see those all as indicators. We're gonna have a phenomenal year. If you're not if you're a leftist, you're gonna hate it. But for everyone who's normal, it's gonna be a phenomenal year. I'm telling you, it's gonna be great. It's awesome. It's like it's been more than awesome right out of the gate. Florida imams. We are building a pipeline of leaders. I want the governor of Florida to be Muslim. Not going to happen. I want Muslims in the House, Muslim senators. No. We don't apologize about jihad. We are not afraid of jihad. Jihad is who we are. Okay. For all the threats that Muslims are making because they've almost successfully taken over the UK and some other places, that is not going to happen here with the church here. It's just not. It's not going to happen with the church here. Not in America. No. You can do it where there are no churches, and you can do it where there are dead churches. You're not going to do it here in America with the church here. The church is getting stronger as we speak, despite some people, the church is it's so weak. There are weak churches, but the church itself is getting built up. And I guarantee you, we're going to see a year of increased supernatural miracles, signs, and wonders, things that no person can take credit for. And it's going to point to, there is a God, and there's one true God, and it's the God of the Bible. He's very much alive, and he's very much interested in what is happening here. He's very much involved. Yes, you're going to find out. So it's not going to happen with the church here. I think once the church is removed, which I'm going to get into that in part 3 later tonight. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to talk about that. But once the church is removed, if Islam moves in and takes over, that won't surprise me. Now that I'm watching this, how it is growing and how they are looking to take over and force conversions and cut people's heads off and stuff, I think Islam actually will maybe be part of the one world religion. I don't know if it means Islam alone or it will be a blend of multiple religions. But Islam, I think, is going to be a factor in the end times once the church is removed, and then you get into like the tribulation and stuff. I could see that happening. And I think America is going to fall because there are tons of Christians here in America. And think about it. If we all up and disappear, which the Bible says is going to happen, that would destabilize everything. That would destabilize the workforce, the economy, and it would certainly destabilize things in the spirit. You take away which I believe the church is what the Bible refers to as the restrainer, which is restraining the Antichrist from being revealed and rising to power. If we are in fact the restrainer, suddenly we're gone. There goes in the spirit what was holding back the unleashing of evil that the Bible says is coming in the last days. So to say nothing of economy and workforce and everything. So then you could have a flood, not only of evil, but also of any other religion. And America is going to have to fall apart, I think. So the best thing for you to do is be a genuine believer and get raptured. I wouldn't want to be here for it. And I'm going to if you don't know what I'm talking about, tune in for part 3, because I'm going to go into detail about what that means and talk about the tribulation and the end times events that the Bible prophesied thousands of years ago, many of which have happened. Some are happening now, some are yet to come, but it's undeniable. And it's like, it fits like a glove because it's true. So we're in the final seconds here. I mean, the Bible referred to the day of Pentecost as the last days, and that was 2,000 years ago. So if that was the last days then, how much more are we in the last days now? We're in the final seconds here. It's an exciting time to be alive, but if you're an unbeliever, it's probably terrifying, which is why I would get into right relationship with God if that's the last thing I do. Next. President of Austria asks all women to wear a hijab. What a retard. with increasing Islamophobia, why do you think there's Islamophobia? Is it maybe because a bunch of people just got murdered by 2 jihadists? I don't know. That could be why. How are you running this country when you just had people murdered by Muslims and now you're encouraging everyone to wear what Muslims wear and you're complaining about Islamophobia? You're a retard, sir. How is this person in power? The day will come where we have to ask all women to wear a headscarf to show solidarity with those who do so for religious reasons. See, here, what about the other religions? What about Jewish people and how they dress, like bona fide, like the braids, you know what I'm saying, like Jewish people? What about them? You going to tell everybody to dress like a Jew to make them feel okay? No. How about who are Christians who look weird? Amish, no offense. You want everyone to dress Amish to make the Amish feel welcome? You want everyone to dress like Pentecostal holiness with the long skirts and no makeup and never cut their hair to make them feel? No, you're not catering to anybody, any religion except for Muslims. Why is that? Why? That's why I tell you they are growing and their influence is increasing, but I think it's all going to be held back while the church is here. But it is undeniable that it's like up and coming. And for some reason, you got a bunch of white liberal people who are all for it, like the retarded girls in New York City when Mom Donnie got elected, and they're like, "Oh yay for Sharia law." Do you know what that means for you? That means you can just get raped and no one will help you. There's no justice for you. It's just okay. Is that really, that's what you want? But no, it's funny how all those people they'll change their position once something terrible happens to them. But it's all okay as long as it's happening to someone else. Like Anna Kasparian, who's one of the biggest idiots who talks. And she, flaming leftist in all her ways. And then she got like assaulted or something by a homeless guy or something like that. And then all of a sudden she changed her tune on some things. She's still a liberal, but she changed her tune on some things and she came more middle ground after that happened. So it's like, yeah, it's all okay as long as someone else is assaulted or someone else's kid or daughter or wife, whatever. But now all of a sudden when it happened to me or someone close to me, now I care about it not happening to anybody else. And that's how the left is. Next. From RFK Jr., speaking of the GOAT, on January 20, the Trump White House will advise all U.S. water systems to remove fluoride from public water. Another win, man. Fluoride is an industrial waste associated with arthritis, bone fractures, bone cancer, IQ loss, neurodevelopmental disorders, and thyroid disease. President Donald J. Trump and First Lady Melania Trump want to make America healthy again. That's great news. Fluoride is a big problem. And that's another thing I got lied to when I was in school for nutrition, is they were like, fluoride's like a good thing and it should be added to our water. No. Big lie. Who wrote this? Was it like Satan or Bill Gates or any of the other globalists, Klaus Schwab, George Soros? Could have been any one of them. And this is in a textbook. You kidding me? Next. Calling a boy he equals sexual harassment. Because the original post here says California school says misgendering is sexual harassment. Oh my goodness. So you can call a boy a he and that's sexual harassment. But if a boy strips naked in front of girls without their consent, it's equaled brave. That's from Riley Gaines. California is due to get shaken up as well. I bet you it's coming. I bet you it's coming this year. I bet you something happens and Gavin Newsom gets removed. Somebody gets installed who's going to like America and like American citizens and be anti-like crime and corruption. And California is going to have a revival. They're already having one. I actually think California was red in the last election and maybe even in 2020, but because of voter fraud, you didn't see it. But I think it was. There are a lot of Christians there and a lot of people who are not at all flaming left. Obviously, we know about the ones who are flaming left. They're always the loudest, but there are a lot of really great people there. And California is like Day of Redemption's coming, I think. Next. Far left Antifa terrorist groups are sharing wanted posters for the ICE agent who shot a woman in self-defense. They're hunting down ICE agents. Pray for the safety of our brave officers working to keep our country safe. that is awful that they're doing that. I'm not surprised though. They've been outright calling. They were calling for hanging Kristi Noem. They've been doxing ICE agents since last year. So I'm not surprised, but that is awful to do. I would find whoever put those posters up and arrest them, honestly. They did release the guy's name, which is stupid. You shouldn't release his name because now people are going to go after him. So basically the right thing in the eyes of these people, the right thing for him to do would be just get run over and not do anything about it. That's what these people want. Next. Hilton sign being removed from the hotel, which canceled ICE agents' reservations, then lied about it. Okay, let me just say this. So when this first came out, which was last week, I was reading, Laura Loomer was everyone was talking about it, how because there was a picture there from the front office manager who wrote a letter saying like, ICE, we canceled your reservations. You can't stay here at this property. So everyone was up in arms toward Hilton, because I think it was a Hampton Inn, which is a Hilton property. Now, I used to work for Hilton for years, and I still have PTSD from it. But Hilton is kind of woke, but they're not in your face woke. They're not like Starbucks and they're not like Target, but they've definitely had some woke, policies and things. But here's the thing. When I heard that story, especially for Hamptons, it's like over 80% of them or 85% of them are franchise owned. So believe it or not, and I know this from having worked there, you do have some space of freedom at your property. When it's franchise owned, there's a lot of decisions you can make that Hilton actually can't necessarily do anything about. Again, if it becomes a big enough deal, Hilton will get involved, and there are violations that will get your brand stripped from you, which is what we see happened when they took that sign. However, you are allowed to cancel reservations. You are allowed to ban certain people from staying at your property. When I worked at one, we had people on a blacklist. And the reason why is because they trashed rooms. They were unruly. They, there was some kind of physical problem. One of them, I won't say his name, but he owned a racing team, and he was like the rudest person you've ever met. And all of the staff didn't want to be there when he was there. So one of my jobs was to handle the rooming lists and the reservations for groups, especially when special events are coming. And so I had to tell the lady who was their agent or whatever, that he can't stay at our property anymore. And the reason why is because no one wanted to come to work with him there. So it's not like I was just singling him out. I was like, if none of the staff shows up because he's that rude, that's a problem for the entire property. So with him acting the way that he is, and he's not going to stop because he thinks he's somebody, right? People should know who I am. Bro, I had to Google you to know who you were. So you're not a big deal. But, being that he owned this team and stuff. So I had to say, like, he can't stay here anymore. Actually, the rest of his team is fine. None of them were a problem. It was only him. So you are allowed to do that, is my point. You're allowed to ban certain people from staying at your property when you have a good reason. They've trashed the hotel, or they've badgered your staff, whatever it is. So I was like, I wouldn't be quick to jump on Hilton for this, because I'm guessing this letter that the front office manager sent out didn't come from Hilton. This is from property level, which is likely franchise owned. So sure enough, we find out Hilton didn't say, yeah, no ICE agents at our properties. This was specific to that property. And that's why Hilton said, you can't do that. They apparently said, we're going to do it. And then Hilton's like, okay, we'll come take your branding. We'll take everything. We'll take your sign. You're being stripped of your status as a Hilton property. So you then have to, if you want to keep the hotel in business, you have to come up with your own brand essentially, or join another one. So anyway, not defending Hilton just because they are kind of woke, and I do have PTSD, and they have some really stupid things in place, but I had a feeling that was for that property specifically, and now we find out it was. So that front office manager really single-handedly, and that could have come from the GM, could have come from the owner, but whosever decision that was, they likely destroyed that business, maybe forever. But, you know, like President Trump said, everything that is woke, it goes to, you know, it's true. You can look at Bud Light. You can look at what was happening to Cracker Barrel. You can look at all these companies that said that they're going to be super woke. And then what happens is they lose a ton in profit. It's just the way it is. Because despite what the media wants you to think, more of America is conservative than liberal. More people are normal than insane and demon possessed. Like, more people actually like being here, and they support the country than hate it and want to destroy it. So when you choose to you draw that line in the sand and say, we're going to be far left and, you know, in your face about it. We're going to promote trans this, we're going to promote anti-ICE this, we're, you know, all anti-Trump, whatever it is, it's going to hurt your business. Like it just is. It just is. Next. In response to yesterday's ICE-involved shooting in Minneapolis, all Jimmy Kimmel had to say was to hold up a T-shirt that said, "Donald Trump is going to kill you." Oh my gosh. This guy has got, what do they call it? Is it DTS? No. Trump derangement syndrome, TDS. This guy's like phase 4, stage 4. There's no helping him. He's nuts. Trump is all he thinks about. I think, you know what I think? And I'm going to have to say allegedly. I think allegedly he's in the Epstein files. And I think if stuff comes out, he's going to be going into hiding or something. Allegedly, not making any accusation. I mean, I'm making an accusation without legally making an accusation. I've got a hunch. Next. Breaking, Iran's supreme leader is projected to be removed from power. 55% chance he's dethroned this year. This is from Polymarket, and I'm telling you, Polymarket doesn't miss because they're betting odds. They've predicted every election correctly since they've started predicting elections. Iran is like on fire right now. Is there more on that? Because I think there is. They're on the brink of freedom there, and God bless them, because that guy does need to be removed, and that regime is the worst. I don't know where it is. I may find it later, but the protesters are literally pushing through. Now, I do think there's been violence committed against them, and some people have been killed, but the regime is toppling. It's toppling. There's been talk of that Khamenei or whatever his name is fleeing to Russia. He's on his way out. Iran is going to get free. They're going to have like the liberation that Venezuela just got. And then it's going to be good. The church can practice openly. The church can thrive. People can go in and build more churches and bless that nation. Iran could go back to how they were in it was like the 60s, maybe the 70s, when it wasn't a Muslim stronghold. You could go to the beach if you're a woman. You didn't have to be in a burqa and the whole thing. Something's really been taken from those people, and that regime is a bloodthirsty death cult, and it needs to go, and they're on the brink of it. And I bet you anything it happens soon. Bet you anything. Next. Yikes. Iran has shut down all internet, phone calls, and communication with the world. The Islamic regime's main state broadcaster is now live airing and promoting who? None other than Tucker Carlson. Now, let me ask you this. Who shut down the internet? Obviously, the regime that's still in place, that's crumbling, they control the military and the government. In fact, so I knew someone who he wasn't born in Iran. His parents were. I think he and his brother were born in the United States, but they were like first generation. So their grandparents were still in Iran. And given their dual citizenship, when they turned like 18 or something, they were supposed to go back to Iran and get signed up. Like you have to join the military, like everybody has to. And the thing is, they didn't when they turned 18. So now, if they were to go to Iran, they would be detained in the airport, and God knows what would happen to them because they never went and did that. So they couldn't go visit their grandparents or anything because they would get detained in the airport. So that system they have there is a mess. But anyway, back to this. why you got to ask yourself if there's a bloodthirsty death cult of jihadists who are running Iran, who even other jihadists think are insane. Even other Islamic countries are like, Iran's nuts. So they shut down internet and all that to deal with the protesting. And yet they've got one person they're promoting, and it's Tucker Carlson. If you have not made up your mind that Tucker Carlson is a paid, bought and paid for Islamic just mouthpiece, that should be the nail in the coffin that would get you convinced. Whatever you used to love about Tucker, I'm sorry, it's gone. It's gone. This is what he is now. For whatever reason, whatever drove him to this, money, blackmail, I don't know, but that should tell you something. Iran's nuts. Iran hates America. They hate America, and yet they like Tucker Carlson. That should tell you something. All right. Writing's on the wall, guys. Next. So I just asked Grok, the Twitter artificial intelligence bot, why the NFL is registered as an entertainment company and not a sports company. And here's what it said. The NFL is listed as an entertainment company due to its multifaceted nature and the way it has evolved over the years. Unlike college football, which is legally registered as a sport, the NFL is officially registered as entertainment. This classification allows them to legally fix the outcome of games and remain protected under the law. The NFL's entertainment aspects go far beyond just the game on the field with elaborate halftime shows, blah, 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 blah. So for those of you who weren't convinced that the NFL is rigged, there you go. The NFL is rigged. And honestly, if you just watch games, you can tell. I actually hope, though, that I would love, again, they can legally get away with that, but I wish they would stop doing that and make it illegal, and they would do what the NBA. I haven't heard anything else about that, but they uncovered all that stuff last year about NBA players throwing games because of bets and blah, 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 blah. I wish they would apply the same pressure to the NFL and then definitely to college football, because I think it's in college football as well. There have been too many games. How many games do you need to see that are all fixed for Georgia? I'm shocked that Ole Miss knocked them out of the playoff. I thought for sure there'd be some kind of bull crap call that would give Georgia, a quadruple touchdown or something, that's not even real. Because it seems like every game's been fixed for them for a long time. And I know people used to say that about Alabama. That could be true. But you can tell there are just things that aren't right. And I do wish that they would, at least for college football, clean that up and send people to prison or something, because it should be an authentic sport, an authentic athletic competition. May the best team win. Refs, don't insert yourselves. Money, don't influence it. Just let the best team win the game. Next, a Dutch Christian pastor was arrested on the street for praying. If you don't know who this is, it is none other than Tom de Waal. He's Dutch. He's from the Netherlands. He has spoken at my church, and I guarantee you, the only reason he, of all people, got arrested is because he prays for the sick. As you can see, he has a miracle ministry. Tremendous miracles coming out of that ministry, beyond sick getting healed. It's great. And so I bet you anything that's why they arrested him, because you can be like a lifeless Christian and no one really, the devil doesn't even really care. It's well, you're not doing anything. You're not a problem. But as soon as you start to do things Jesus did, you start praying for the sick, you start casting out devils, you start to have an impact spiritually. Now, all of a sudden, devil's we got to do something. So he got arrested. Now he has since been released, but that crossed a line. That absolutely crossed a line. So now I bet what's going to happen is there's going to be a massive backfire from that. So whatever was going on in the Netherlands that Christianity wasn't touching, or that was, who knows, in the way of the church growing, is going to get blown up now. I bet you anything. This is going to backfire, because you can't do that. You can't do that and there be no repercussions. You just can't. Anyway, God bless you, Tom de Waal. You're awesome. Your ministry's great. Keep going at it, as I know you will. Oh, and then speaking of that, so this is from my church. This is from my pastor. And this was last Sunday. So was that the 4th? I think. Yeah. So just under a week ago, this is live from the service. I was there. I can attest to it. And look at what happened just a few days after this. Just look. This is actually hilarious. Look at this. It's great.
Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Every time you write an article, you lose a day of printing. You're down to Saturday only from every day. Put your hand against the work of God and watch what happens to your hand. Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's entire building downtown is empty. 0% occupancy. You think you're attacking me, but I got a boss. I don't work for myself. I work for a guy, old Jewish guy up in heaven.
The PG is expected to publish its final edition, both physically and digitally, on May 3rd.
3 days later.
Yeah, write another article, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette.
You cannot tell me, when the Bible says, Jesus said, I've given you authority, binding, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. There's power in the tongue. But also, Jesus said, I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. So when you do, like he said, you put your hand against the building of God's church, you keep speaking against it, you get in the way of physical buildings being built, you prevent the gospel from going out, you're asking for it. You're asking for it. And so literally, he said that on the 4th, and then 3 days later, here comes the announcement that that publication is shutting down. And they've been attacking. They've been attacking. God, I think God's had it. I really do. I think this year you're going to start to see some stuff uprooted that has been in the way of the building of God's church, but also even in the way of the outpouring of his spirit, because he will do it in the last days. We're in the last days like we've never been in them before. He's pouring out his spirit, and anybody in the way of that, anybody in the way of the expansion of God's kingdom and the gospel going out, the church being built, I think you're in trouble. I think there's been grace, there's been time for repentance, and I think it's just about up. So you can change, you can come alongside and be helpful and work with the Lord in what he's doing, or you can get removed. I'm not saying God's going to kill people, but I think platforms are going to be removed in positions of influence, and even like that, a publication. God's doing something big, and no one is going to get in the way of it, including Christians who would want to get in the way of it. Because like the guy I mentioned earlier, believe it or not, there are people who seemingly, if they don't know what they're doing, I don't know how you're that ignorant, but seemingly are intentionally working against what the Spirit of God is doing. And I don't think that's going to go well if you keep doing that. Next. After World War II, MacArthur warned Japan was wide open for the gospel and asked for thousands of missionaries. The church sent hundreds, the window closed. Now Venezuela and Iran are cracking open. Same test. Our generation must not repeat that error. Send a river, not a trickle. Yeah, that is true. In Japan, ever since that failure, Japan has not been open to the gospel. There are like 3 churches in their biggest city or something like that. Like there's like no Christianity there. It's one of the least Christian places on earth, because somebody failed when the harvest was, the time was there and someone didn't do it. So he's saying, let's not do the same thing with all of these other countries popping open. And I agree. Let's go after it. That's my pastor. God bless you. Next. Report. The White House told Secret Service that MTG, she gets worse by the day, may have tipped off the protesters about his surprise visit to Joe's Seafood back in September, according to Axios. Viral footage shows Trump being confronted by Code Pink protesters who called him Hitler. Super original, guys. In response to Axios, Green said the claim was an absolute lie, a dangerous lie. I would never do that. I don't believe you, MTG. I think you would do that. The outlet reports that Green had recommended the restaurant to Trump. Green did say she recommended the restaurant, but she said she didn't know when Trump would go. Officials say that after recommending the president go to Joe's, Green reportedly called White House staffers the day of the dinner to confirm he was going. So I think she's been caught in a lie. And if you've been caught in a lie, it makes people suspect of everything else. So after Trump heard about Green's calls, he called her shortly before leaving the White House and confirmed his planned visit. The sources said so. She freaking knew. Sounding like she knew when he was going to be there. And now she's pretty much just a flat out leftist. So I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, she's been getting worse by the day. She's a traitor. Next. Justin, President Trump says the United States will get a deal with Greenland, whether it be the easy way or the hard way. I want it to be the easy way. President Trump was also asked about how much he would be willing to pay Greenland's residents. We're going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not, because if we don't, Russia or China will take over Greenland, and we're not going to have Russia or China as neighbors. So I think I said that earlier, but I didn't know that was in here. So I'm on board with that. I hope we acquire Greenland. Next. Secretary Scott Bessent, who's one of the best people in Trump's administration, says the Treasury has discovered an alleged fraud scheme where money service businesses in Minnesota are sending taxpayer funds overseas. Imagine that. We have followed the money and identified the money service businesses that may have transferred taxpayer funds overseas. Our team at FinCEN has just provided formal notification that these businesses that they're investigating. What? Oh, to these businesses. Okay. That's great. They're going to uncover more, and I'm telling you, there will be justice because it's too big to ignore. It's too big. There's no way we continue to ignore this. Next. Almost done with this part. Breaking. Bill and Hillary Clinton could face contempt of Congress charges if they fail to appear next week and testify in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. They were subpoenaed. So yeah, if you get subpoenaed, you kind of like have to show up. I hope they don't. And I hope there are charges because I want justice. Hillary Clinton, I understand you've got Bill Gates out there. You've got George Soros, Klaus Schwab, tons of evil people you could choose from. But I think like of all the people to see them come to justice, I think the most satisfying would be Hillary Clinton. She is an evil witch, and it's high time that she pays for it. Like, I'm so sick of her getting away with everything. If I could personally, like, if they let us, like, vote, like, let's say they rounded all of them up, them, the Obamas, everyone, they rounded them all up, and you could cast a vote for the first one to be sent to Guantanamo Bay, I would vote for Hillary. Next. Bible sales in the UK have reached a record high, fueled by growing interest among Gen Z, rising 134% over the past 6 years per Daily Mail. Wow. Gen Z's been killing it in church and whatnot. And the fact that that's happening in the UK, I think they're going to have one last crack at it. I think there's going to be some redemption there. They're just about overwhelmed and overcome by Islam, but I think they're going to have one last revival, and then that's probably going to be it. I think it's going to happen when after King Charles dies or whatever happens to him, and then they have what's his face, who's the successor, Prince William. Once he gets in, I think that's when it'll happen. But it's already, you can see the setup for it. Praise God. Next. A left-wing protester at an ICE facility in Minneapolis openly admits she's getting paid to be there. Ingram, do you have a job? Protester, I'm being paid right now. Time to fully investigate who's funding this. I'm guessing it's George Soros. It's usually him. If it's not, it's another George Soros type. Could be his son, Alex. We don't know. Next. Minnesota Marriott terminates employee who exposed ICE agents' identities. The employee posted names and photos of agents staying at the hotel. This person should be arrested. Set an example. They're putting targets on our officers. Okay. So again, from my hospitality experience, if you do that getting fired is step one. At the very least, that's a lawsuit. At the very least, if not prison time. You cannot give out people's personal information because you have access to it. You have their name, their phone number, their home or business address. You have their email address. You know what room they're in currently. You cannot divulge that information. In fact, a Hilton employee. So what happened is a guy was having an affair. So he checked into a Hilton hotel with his, side piece, and his wife knew, because women know when they're being cheated on. They just know. So his wife knew, and she called area hotels and she asked, is such and such guest there? Well, the person at the front desk should have known better, obviously wasn't properly trained, and they told her, yes, he's there. So then what happened is the guy got caught by his wife, which, he should have gotten caught. I'm not defending the adulterer. I'm simply saying the employee is not allowed to do that. So what happened is the hotel got sued and the front desk agent who gave out the information got sued because you're not allowed to do that. So this person in Minnesota at this Marriott who did that, that's a lawsuit at the very least, if not jail time, because you're literally, that's multiple violations. Is you're giving away people's personal information, which you can't do, but you're also, the intent is to harm them, so that's like doxing someone. So I could see that being, you can get arrested for that. You can't do that. Even if you have Adolf Hitler at your property and you know that he should be killed, you still, as the person working there, you can't, you're not allowed to do that, even if it would be justified. And of course it's not in this case with ICE, but I'm simply saying that's, you're going to be in trouble, and it goes well beyond just losing your job. Next. Breaking: Houston Wade, a leftist activist with a long history of calling Republicans and Trump supporters pedophiles, was arrested in Washington after allegedly trying to meet up with an 11-year-old child for sexual activities. Imagine another leftist being a hypocrite. And this is what they do is it's like what the left does with Trump. Everything they accuse Trump of doing is what they're actually doing. And so here you have this person accusing all Republicans of being pedophiles, and it turns out he's one. Imagine that. But is it surprising? Unfortunately, it's not surprising. And what I think that said he was some kind of gay also. And, we're all supposed to believe that the LGBTQ community, they're not interested in kids. You got to stop assuming that. I'm sorry for assuming a sexually deviant person. It's easy for them to take one step further and become a little more sexually deviant because they've already crossed the line of what's normal and what's natural. So at that point, you abandon normalcy. You've gone against natural things, natural anatomy, even all of that. And so if you then just move on to kids or animals or inanimate objects, I'm not surprised. It's called a slippery slope, and there's tons of evidence to support that it's real. Whether anybody likes saying that out loud or not, it's true. Next. President Trump says the United States will launch bombing operations inside Mexico to eliminate the drug cartels once and for all. I am pro blowing up drug cartels. Big fan of it. I love watching the videos where they've been blowing the boats out of the water. Everyone who's not happy with that, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we're eliminating people that flood the country with drugs, and drugs kill people, and the people they don't kill, they destroy their lives, their relationships, and their families. I'm sorry that we're not just letting the drugs come in. It's too bad. If they could just make it to the border and distribute their drugs, that would just be better than killing the cartels. Is that literally your position? And yet it is. People, again, Trump is somehow, I don't know how he's doing it. He's a mastermind. He's a professional in getting the Democrats and the left to support literal criminals and terrorists. and rapists and murderers and stuff. Like, I don't know how he does it. It has exposed just the insanity of their positions. And yet they keep doing it. They keep supporting those people. It's crazy. Breaking, here it is. Iranian regime security forces have lost nearly all control of Iran's capital city, Tehran, second largest city, Mashhad, fifth largest city, Shiraz. I'm sure I didn't say any of that right. I'm telling you that regime's coming down. Iran's getting freed. They're getting opened up. It's going to be glorious and awesome. It's coming. Next. Guys, everybody calm down. She was only trying to run over ICE agents. It's not like she was doing something crazy like speaking freely on a Utah college campus. Yeah, obviously, if again, it makes sense to me, but it just, you can't have people think and make sense when they don't have that capability. Like, they just don't see it. They just don't see it. Next. Leftist woman says she feels wrong for paying her respects to Renee Good because she's a white woman who's privileged. White tears are not helpful. Good Lord, you have been so brainwashed, so indoctrinated to hate white people that you don't even consider a white life lost worth shedding a tear for, regardless of who the person is, regardless of why they're dead. You think they're not worthy to have tears shed for them because of their whiteness. That's thanks to the mainstream media right there. The portrait of the king has demon faces all over it. I've seen this before. I'm going to play the video because it is true. Let's watch it. This is King Charles, obviously.
It is the first portrait called the portrait of the king. First portrait since he was coronated, and he is the main heir to Vlad the Impaler. You can't make that up. And there are demon faces all over it when you just look at it straight on. But when you take the painting and duplicate it or put it upside down, Charles forms the giant face, and his head are the eyes of a huge Baphomet. You say, oh, this is an isolated incident. No, you see the Rothschild and Rockefeller art displays they put on, or you see time and time again the type of art they're funding, and almost all the time it's degenerate or satanic. You got the Lord Rothschild that just died a few months ago with Abrina Abramovich, the high priestess of Aleister Crowleyism, and there they are in front of a giant painting of Lucifer summoning his legions. It is the first portrait called
they show it at the end. I was looking at something else. No, they didn't. So they didn't even show the part that it's, you can see the, when you flip it around, because I've seen this before. Let me see if I can pop up a picture. Yeah. All right. Let me pop up this picture so you can see, because they didn't show it in that video, which is dumb. I thought they would. Look at this. So it's when you like, whatever that's called, you put the image right beside itself, and obviously they flipped it upside down, but there you can see the goat head with the horns directly in the middle, which is the Baphomet thing. But the whole thing is very dark and satanic looking. So, the royal family's like pretty evil in my opinion. I do think Prince Charles will be different, at least for a time. And then that's probably just going to be it. It's just going to be the end of the world at that point. But anyway, next. Last one for news. Left-wing rioters are now targeting Minneapolis hotels they believe ICE is booked at. So now they're just arresting. They're just attacking random hotels because they think ICE is there. This is what I say. Like, you've got to send in like the military or something. That's the only option at this point. Now I do love how, ICE has been so attacked, and yet they've had tons of people applying to be ICE agents. So clearly people aren't afraid, but you're going to need more than ICE, I think, to take care of that situation in Minnesota. I'd send the National Guard. I'd find Chuck Norris. I'd send him in. Jean-Claude Van Damme, whatever he's doing. I know Sylvester Stallone would be happy to go. I'd send those guys along with some military, and I'd clean the place up. All right. I am at the end of part 1. All right. Believe it or not, this has only been part 1. So real quick, I am, because I know not everybody's going to watch 2 and 3. I will pop these up and then I'll explain what we're going to do. So these are the ways to contact me or follow: Instagram, X, Facebook, really any of these platforms. If you search Amber Alert Podcast, you'll find me. And there's my email address if you would need to contact me for whatever reason. Now we should be live on Instagram and X and Rumble right now. I'm not going live on YouTube because they're censoring me. But I will post to YouTube when I'm done if they don't take it down. I'll post a Substack and I'll post audio only on Spotify. So those are all the platforms where I am. I'm not on TikTok because I'm not 5. And then if you want to support Amber Alert Podcast, these are the ways that you can: Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. PayPal typically is most common, but you can do any of those 3. Also, the email address under PayPal there is the same one to contact me. So if you have a business, you want to be a sponsor, you can let me know and we can work something out. So those are those. Now, let me explain again. I explained at the beginning, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this live stream. Okay. I'm going to have an intermission of maybe, it should be less than 10 minutes. If all goes well, because I have to set up the next one. It should be less than 10 minutes. It might be more like 5. So I'm going to end this and then I'm going to start part 2 in roughly 5 minutes, could be 5 to 10 minutes. So if you're going to continue watching or whatever, this will make sense to somebody. I'm going to end it. You'll exit this. And then I'm going to start a new live for part 2, which will be much shorter. We're going to talk about the mysterious disappearance of Marcus Chen. And some of the potential things that factored into that. So it'll be short compared to this, very short. And then I'll end that one, have another little intermission of maybe 5 minutes, and then I'll start part 3, which I'm super excited about. We're going to talk about end times and everything the Bible predicted that is happening right now or has already happened, and some things that are yet to come, yet we can see the foundation being laid for it. So stay with me. I mean, when I say stay with me, I'm ending this live stream. So you're going to have to leave because I'm leaving, but I will be back in a new one. So I'll start a new one on Rumble, on X, and on Instagram. So I will see you in a matter of minutes. All right. God bless you and goodbye.